All right, Islam Morse, Islam. Peace to everybody on this call. We're going to go ahead and start up now. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We ask that everybody rise and face the east for the American prayer. If you are able to, please rise and face the east.
Join the meeting.
All right, hang on one second. Okay, for anyone is new to this, we stand up straight, all right, with our heels together in a 45-degree, heels together at a 45-degree angle. We stand up straight with our arms up perpendicular to 90-degree angle with 2 fingers on the right and 5 on the left, facing the east. And please repeat after this young sister.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of love.
Allah, the Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
And justice.
Allah
is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
My salvation.
By night and by day.
By night and by day.
Through his holy
By night
prophet.
and day.
Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen. Islamism. All right, this meeting is now open. Islam. First and foremost, we always rise and give the highest praise to the Most High, our Father God Allah. I give honors to our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. Also give honors to the forerunner to the prophet, our brother, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for purity and love. We give honors to our charter and its 10 wonders. We give honors to the Moorish and the American flags. Also give honors to all the adept sheiks and all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish divine and national movement. We give honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh by our prophet, and that is our brother E. Millie Ill. We give honors on down to the current Supreme Grand Sheikh, our brother K. Dandridgel, honors to the Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and honors to all the faithful Muslims on this call. Islam, Islamism. Brother Jackson Bay, would you please read the Divine Constitution and Bylaws?
Islam, I rise giving perfect praise to Allah, and honors to the Prophet Ali, honors to our forefathers and foremothers, and honors to the Asiatic nations, and honors to the Muslims all over the world. Salvation, life, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1, the Grand Sheikh and Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2, all meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims.
Join the meeting.
Act 3, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No members are put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4, all members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial to the government and must live accordingly. Act 5, this organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their
Join the
nationality,
meeting.
teaching our people their nationality and the divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7, all members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Jew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Jew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office to Noble Jew Ali. Home office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace and love.
All right, gratitude, brother. Gratitude. Brother Cole Bay, would you please read the writs of the prophet?
Islam. I rise to give honors to our great God Allah. I rise to give honors to our prophet, Noble Jew Ali. I rise to give honors to the forerunner Marcus Messiah Garvey. I give rise and honors to all Moors on attendance and all Moors on the planet. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago. In the past, it is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your divine prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finances so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize a movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Jew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, this is instructions from your prophet, Noble Jew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine national creed, that you will be blessed for your good works that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of the times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Jew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone, many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear. Least they will be confined of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. Well, if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members to end all radical speeches in their work, in their homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cars, Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your car is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law that is laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cardinal button, cease wearing the turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And the prophet is not right. The temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans. They do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism, gratitude, brother. Before we move forward, just want to ask if Maurice and says Deanie 59. Are you calling in? Are you two calling in on the phone numbers? I guess a 330 number and a 904 area code.
Yes, I am.
Islam, brother. Yes, I am.
Okay.
330.
All right. And would you mind letting me know what location you're in?
Columbus. Mission 30.
All right. Okay.
I'm calling in from.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
I'm calling in from Seattle, Washington.
All right. Okay, thanks. And that's you on the 904 area code. Okay. All right. If for the sister that just say you're in Columbus, would you state your name again?
Nadine Johnson.
Okay, got you. All right. Got you. Thanks. All right. Appreciate it. So yeah, we're going to be speaking on the Koran questionnaire today, just going over questions 71 through 80 and speaking on a few other things. And the floor will be open to questions, just any questions or statements that you want to make in general. All right. And before we get started, I did just want to talk about some different aspects of the Moorish Science Temple of America. One is our divine rights and our birthrights. Just so that we all have a good understanding of this, so that we know the difference between these things. Right, our birthrights. Right, if you look at the definition of birthrights, that's your rights, your privileges, or possessions to which a person is entitled to by birth. Okay, just what you're entitled to just by birth. And then your divine rights are the powers or privileges to which we are justly entitled to because they proceed directly from us, or excuse me, directly from our Father God Allah to us. All right. Can anybody name anything that might be our birthrights? Anybody have any idea what birthrights? Some examples.
Islam, I would say our creed. Our creed is our birthright. Our 5 principles are our birthright. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice are our birthright.
Islam. All right, that's good. And one thing that I want to share with you, if you have the Quran, if you turn to chapter 1 on page 5, okay, let me read this to you. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, right? The world of manifest, everything is physical, of protoplast. And protoplast, we're talking about what our cells are made up of, this clear jelly-like substance that, contains life, because within the cells you have organs and things on a microscopic level. So that's the protoplast. So man is the Lord of the plane of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast. And what this is saying, when it's saying you're the Lord of this, it means that we literally have dominion over all of this, even over your cells in your body. And this is starting to become a part of how science is being taught now in the mainstream because of quantum physics. Things are starting to change. They're starting to realize that our thoughts and our actions, our words have an effect on our physical reality at a level that we didn't previously understand. Well, that the Western civilization didn't understand. Our ancestors knew this, right? So you can literally speak and think and affect your life, affect even the cells in your body. You can make them heal. You can make things get worse. They had the experiments where they set the cups of water out, and just by people writing their intentions on the cups, it affected the water over time. Some of the water would get stagnant, maybe get moldy, and then the ones that had positive thoughts on it was pristine, stayed clean and crystal clear, right? So man is the Lord of the plane of manifest, of protoplast, of mineral, of plant, of beast. So we don't even really, we're just at the tip of the iceberg. We don't even really know how powerful we are, okay? But he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. And I'm going to stop right there. And so that's why we do all this spiritual stuff. Okay. Now, I think Friday, I was reading from Moorish literature about the piece is entitled Moorish Science Temple of America, but basically where it's explaining our goals, our actual objective, where it's actually explaining what we do. And when you read it, maybe I could read a portion of it, but when you read over it, you see that it's not all just taking care of our spiritual needs, right? We want to create businesses. That's what part of our aim, so that we can do what? So that we can hire our own people. We need land so that we can cultivate our own land, right? We need to grow our own food, right? So it's not just the spiritual needs. And hey, I'll just read this real quick, just in case nobody's heard or everybody hasn't heard this. Hang on. All right, yeah. This is the Moorish Science Temple of America. It's on page 51 in the white Moorish literature book. But it's here we go in the first paragraph. Aside from the fact that it is a legally organized religious corporation, it is building on human needs, right? So we're actually taking care of our earthly needs as well. To this desirable end in time, legitimate means will be found to dispense charity, right? To help and assist our people, dispense charity, and provide for the mutual assistance of its members in times of distress. So this is what we're working towards, to aid in the improvement of health and to encourage the ownership of better homes, to find employment for our members, to teach those fundamental principles which are desired for our civilization, such as obedience to law, respect and loyalty to government, tolerance and unity. And as we go on to reading throughout Moorish literature, not in this passage, but also later on in the second to last passage, it says, we believe that this can best be done. We are interested in freeing ourselves and our children from the greatest plight, economic slavery. We believe that this can best be done by encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprises, making moves. That's what the prophet did. You had temples in several cities, businesses, even had an Asiatic-owned bank, a brother named Jesse Binga in Chicago. They won't tell you that, right? People won't tell you this. You had an Asiatic-owned bank. And guess what? Our people were all gonna have accounts there. Okay, so we believe in encouraging, patronizing, and establishing our own business enterprises and cultivating our own acres of land. So the reason I'm saying this is because, all right, we're taking care of the physical part. But now back to this. When I was reading about the birthrights, now the spiritual part is not to be overlooked. This is actually the most important. If you can see that meme that's up on the screen with the Egyptian pharaoh, and they physically carved all this stuff, these representations of subduing the lower self. They put it on the sarcophagus, but they also carved it out of solid stone, out of rock. They built entire temples representing this. The Sphinx represents this, subduing the lower self. Has anyone ever been to Egypt? Like the Sphinx is huge, and they say it's carved out of solid rock. And it's humongous. And so something this big and something that, that much work went into was done just to represent this battle that's occurring within us all, to subdue the lower self. So this is not to be overlooked. Why? Because the more work you put in, every step you take towards subduing your lower self, that's another portion of Allah within you that's been unfolded. And so as I read the birthrights, okay, these birthrights trump probably anything else that we're thinking of when we're thinking about our birthrights. We're thinking about getting the land and all that stuff. All of this is ours, okay? All of this. Man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplasm, of mineral, of plant, of beast, but he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost heritage, his lost estate, his heritage. But he must do it in a conflict that cannot be told in words. Yes, he must suffer trials and tribulations manifold. So we're here. We must subdue the lower self. We gave up our vast estate just to gratify the lower self, to get fully ingrained in this human experience.
Islam. Peace and love. I rise and give praises and high honors and praises to Allah, honors to all you Muslims on the call, honors to the Prophet. The word gratify sticks out to me, and I feel like I kind of need a little explanation of gratifying. Like, what is the true meaning of gratification in Islam?
All right, Islam, let's get a definition on that. If somebody could pull it up before me, feel free to unmute. All right. Just real quick definition would be giving pleasure or satisfaction, indulge or satisfy a desire. Hang on. And so I'm looking at Merriam-Webster.
Islamism.
Okay, yeah, I'm getting the same thing. To give in, to indulge, to satisfy. All right. And so when we're indulging in the lower self, we're giving in purely to desires. And they may not be for our higher purpose, right? Or for our greater good, which is actually, that's what we discussing with the questions in the Koran questionnaire 71 through 80. Right. So when we give it in to these lower desires, it's not going to be necessarily for the greater good. It might even lead to your own destruction. You know, and many of the things that plague us as a people, it's because we're giving in to these desires. We're not even listening to the higher self. All right. And so there's traps that's set up for us to hold us back. And we can sidestep all of that if we can control our lower self. Okay. And then beyond that, we have an even higher purpose, eventually to be the head of everything, to be the leaders for the entire world. Okay, because there's still, even in our lower state, people are still looking at us, still emulating us all over the world. People that don't even speak English, right? They're listening to our music, they're dressing like us. And this is us in our lower state, you know, where we're slaves to sin. All right. And also from chapter 1, just to read, give a little more context. Perfected man must pass through all the ways of life. And so a carnal was full manifest. Right. The carnal nature, this lower animal self came in afterwards. As we started to vibrate slower and become even more dense. A nature that sprang forth from fleshy things. Without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength. And thought must be developed by the exercise of strength. So we're here, and it's already been ordained. It's already understood that we will overcome this. Okay. And since most of our people don't even know about this, it's up to us to lead the way. And then with all of the things that were mentioned in here about the temple, the physical things that we aim to do, to be able to have our own businesses to the point where we can patronize each other. It means we basically will have our own communities where eventually you don't even have to leave the community. You can get everything, groceries. It means we're growing our own food. We're doing all of that. In the midst of everything that's going on, we can do it. Okay. And that's eventually that's where we want to get at. But if you're coming in the temple, like, where is that stuff? Obviously it's not here. We have to build it. We have to make it happen. Right? You can't come into the temple like, where's the banks at? Where's the the Moorish city where's the Moorish police? We got our own thing. Those laws don't apply to me. You can't come in like that because we have to build it. It's like we're starting over. So we have to make it happen. And we have everything that we need to make it happen, but we can't forget this part of it. The subduing the lower self needs to be in each and every one of our minds, in the back of our heads, because it's a 24/7 thing. Why? Because not only do we have to build it, but we also have to lead the way for ourselves, for our children, grandchildren, for our peers who will eventually want to come in when they see, because a lot of people, they're not going to want to come in and build it, but they will when they see us moving as a unit. Right. And especially if things start to get more harsh in this country for them. And they see us seceding regardless of that. Because when the prophet was here and things were moving, he spoke about how he traveled through the South and he saw what the people was going through. And in that time, our towns were being burned down. Our people were literally being lynched, ran out of town so the Europeans could take it over. In the early 1900s, they were suffering through the Great Depression, And we had Black Wall Street. We had all of these other Asiatic towns that were doing good. Wilmington, North Carolina. And they were coming in, taking it over, running us out of town or lynching us. A lot of the people they were lynching were business owners, right? And that's in quiet as kept. That's how a lot of them came up. But while this was going on, guess what? Nobody was messing with the Moors. And it's not just because, oh, they proclaimed their nationality. It's no, because they were doing everything they needed to do as a unit. It's different when you have something that makes you come together and look out for yourselves, make political moves for yourself. You can't play a Moor and shame them into voting a certain way, like they can shame all our people into voting Democrat no matter what. You can't do that because Moors have leadership. We're all going to move in this direction because this person is going to do X, Y, and Z for us. And if they're not going to play ball, we'll put our own candidate up, you know, just like playing ball like everyone else does. And so the Moors were able to move differently. So in the midst of the lynchings and things that were going on, the prophet in them, they were moving, they were voting. And a lot of our people in other places, they were being intimidated and things were happening to try to keep them from voting. What happens when you vote just at a local level? You put people in city council. What is city council about? What's the mayor about? The mayor is basically like a president on a smaller scale. He has his own cabinet, his own divisions. He can even create a division if there's enough finances. Right? The mayor here in Columbus, he created, I think this last mayor created a division for diversity. Unless the mayor before him did that. Right? But I'm just saying that because they control the finances. They control, like for Columbus, they're controlling, I think the budget, it was either 800 million. I think it was around $1 billion, but just for 1 year. And I could be off. It was a lot of money. The reason I'm saying that is because you vote at the local level, you put the city council and the people in these positions and they control the finances. You put the sheriff in and they control law enforcement for the whole entire county. You control your reality. And so this is how the Moors were moving, and they were able to do this in the midst of all these terrible things that were going on. And I'm just saying we can do it as well too. And you know, it's possible because like I was saying, unlike the rest of our people, we have leadership. We have strategies. We move as a unit. And that's the main difference. Okay. And, you know, from a physical perspective, we take care of our physical needs, but then also in the back of our mind, all the time, it's that we have to subdue our lower self. And we know that each step we take to subdue the lower self, you further unfold a lot within you. We know that we have 12 steps of the ladder or the 12 virtues. And each virtue that we attain, we further subdue our lower self. And every time you subdue your lower self, you're bringing out what? Allah in you. And then when we look at these statues like the Pharaoh that's up here, a lot of times these things will be carved out of solid stone. I've said this before, but you see the headdress on. A lot of times when you turn to the side and then look at that statue from the back, you see that it's not even a headdress. Those are the wings of the hawk coming down over the shoulders of Horus. And that's symbolizing that this person was in unison with their higher self. And it wasn't just talk. These things weren't being carved out of stone for no reason. This is a way of life. A way of life. And that's what we're returning to. That's why it's so important to stick to what the prophet brought us. A lot of us want to claim to be the ancient Egyptians because that's so great, right? They did all these great things. And you have people who will try to make fun of us for that. Like they say, they got these memes saying we was kings, where they're trying to make fun of us because we want to claim Egypt, but we don't want to claim anything else. And the thing is, the prophet actually returned us to this. He returned the stolen legacy to us. And The biggest thing that you can't throw out is that ancient Egypt was a theocratic monarchy. And we have a theocratic constitutional monarchy. You can't leave out the spiritual aspect, can't leave out God. It's in every aspect of our lives. We are always working on self, and we are always aware of the battle, internal battle to subdue the lower self. We know those tools that you'll see people who are Freemasons with the square and the compass. We know that those are just some of the invisible tools, the spiritual tools that we use to draw the circle around our passions and desires. Why would you do that? Because when we give into these passions and desires, we're giving into the lower self. So it's always a work in progress. And these are just words from this book by Manly P. Hall. But basically just saying that the temple, okay, was the cradle of civilization. It was the center of everything. And just like in the modern day, the temple is to be our center. Everything will be around it, will be built around it, right? Our cities, our towns, villages, whatever, built around it. So yeah, taking care of our earthly needs, but also spiritually, it's always a portion of our life. We're not letting that go. Because when we let that go, it didn't work out for us before. Then we started going behind what the Europeans are doing. Okay, and not knocking the Europeans, but that doesn't work for us. Okay, and as it says here, the government of ancient Egypt was theocratic. While the pharaoh appeared to be the head of the state, the priests were the actual governors of the empire. Same thing that we have, where you have adepts, you have sheiks, you have divine ministers, and these are the people who are in the Moorish American government. Okay, and this is important because this was returned to us. All right, and nobody was trying to give this information to us at the time. All right, we have people who pretend to be us, who act like they're us, but they're not giving us this information. The only person who returned, not just talked about it, who actually brought the system to us so that we could use this to our advantage, so that we could actually get in alignment with our higher self and returned us to the ways of our ancestors, literally, was Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So we, when we go over our Quran questionnaire, like, this is serious, and I know it's short, it's small. You could go through it back and forth, right, real quick. But it's worth taking a look at and seeing that there's more to this than meets the eye. All right, the tools are given to us so that we can master ourselves and rule, over the physical realm, because that is our birthright. That's what we're destined to do. All right, as it said in the Quran, we gave up our birthright to gratify our lower self. So that's the way to get back out of it. It's a process, and we're going through the process right now. Okay, so just wanted to read that. Birthrights, it's a lot bigger than most of us think. And also too, want to go over religion real quick too, because I know things like that, they turn people off. Why? Because we've been exposed to a corrupted form of it, right? And even what some Moors do, there's a lot of Moors who aren't right or aren't even working on themselves. They're not even doing this. What's up on the screen? They're not trying to subdue their lower self. But you can't let that turn you off either, right? We have a job to do. And just to go over religion though real quick. Religion is man's relation to divinity. All right, our relation to divinity, to reverence, worship, obedience, and submission to mandates and precepts of supernatural or superior beings. And so a lot of us have been exposed to dogma, like it's heavy, just dogma, where, okay, these are the rituals that we do, and we just do it for this reason, or customs. And that's it. We don't really understand, like, the first thing we're taught in our Holy Quran is that Allah is in you. This is how you got here. This is the real reason why you're here. And then through the rest of the Quran, you're given steps on how to get back to where you're supposed to be. And then you're given your history, your true hidden history. All right. And And that's our religions, Islamism. So in its broadest sense, religion includes all forms of belief in the existence of superior beings exercising power over human beings and imposing rules of conduct with future rewards and punishments. And the bond uniting man to Allah and the virtue whose purpose is to render Allah worship due to him as the source of all being and principle of all government of all things. All right. And here, of course, in America, we have religious freedom. All right. And that embraces not only the right to worship Allah according to the dictates of one's own conscience, but also the right to do or forbear to do any act for conscience sake, the doing or forbearing of which is not inimical to the peace, good order, and morals of society. All right. And we have to remember that every civilized people have an organized spiritual system. All right. The Europeans were some of the last ones to join the family of humans or the family of nations, right? When they decided to organize in Constantinople, and several nations decided to come together and adopt Christianity for their people is their religion, that's when they were recognized. That's when they're able to travel and do trade. That's when they're able to move around and be seen as legitimate people, because you have to have something that holds you to standards, right? We have to be able to know that you're civilized. You have law. You understand that there is a creator, right? Because seeing this now with science, I mean, there's literally mathematics in everything in creation, the Fibonacci sequence and all of these things. So, people, in order to be considered civilized, have to have this religion. They have to have something that gives them order and law. All right. And we were given a religion by the European when they gave us Christianity, when they deemed us Negroes. And that was a process that got us to the state we're in now. And so it took a process to get out of that. And the Prophet returned us to our root and brought that to us. So that's one reason why, I'm proud to be a Muslim, Moorish American Muslim all day, right? We should all be proud of that, because that is what returns us to this, our ancient ancestors. That's what makes you the creators of civilization, because you are what your ancestors were, your forefathers and foremothers. You are that today. And then also, instead of just that being your long lost history, we're returning to those ways, right? So we resemble that now in our acts and deeds. All right. And that's huge. That can't be left out. So I want to go ahead and go into the questionnaire. We're going to be going over questions 71 through 80. And if anybody has any questions or anything they want to add, just feel free to speak up. All right. And all right. Okay, yeah. Can the higher self pass away? The previous question was, what is the higher self? And the answer is the higher self is the mother of the virtues and the harmonies of life, and breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. All right. And so it's given that feminine aspect, meaning that it literally gives birth to. So it's the source of all virtues and harmonies. All right. But 71 is, can the higher self pass away? And the answer is no. Why do you think the higher self cannot pass away? Right. In our Quran, Jesus said that time never was when man is not. So obviously he couldn't be talking about this physical man, right? This, not talking about gender either, man or woman. Can't be talking about that, the body, because the body is a shadow of the higher self, and it passes away. It has a time when it was born and when it will cease to exist, right? So we're talking about the higher self. We're talking about spirit in man, spirit man, which is Allah in you. That's Allah. Allah planted the seed in the flesh. And so the higher self can't pass away because time never was when it was not. It's a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. All right. And the things that pass away are illusion. The higher self is the reality, the ultimate reality. And well, not the ultimate reality. Maybe from our perspective it is. But that which passes away, okay, is the illusion. That's the flesh. That's the body, the physical. And the higher self is what's real. And that's why, too, I ask them to remind everybody to, if you've never done this before, to open your third eye. Open your third eye while you're conscious, while you're awake. And one of the easiest ways to do this, well, you could do this through meditation, right? There's several meditations you probably find online to help you open your third eye. But I think the easiest way to do it is to set the intent before you go to sleep, you know, just to tell your body that you want to open your third eye, and to tell your body to wake you up in the middle of the night when you're in deep sleep, to wake you up. And when you wake up, just tell your third eye to open without getting up and moving around. And then, you know, if you've never done that before, then you will know what this is about when it's saying that, you know, the higher self cannot pass away. You'll know why, because you'll know that that's the only thing that's real, the spirit realm. All of this, everything that we're experiencing in the physical, it's emanating from the spiritual realm. All right. So the higher self is infinite. The higher self is truth. Everything that passes away is falsehood. And so that's not trying to say that like this whole physical world is, it doesn't even matter. It's falsehood. It has its purpose and everything, but it's falsehood. It's a reflection of the unseen, the spirit realm. Okay, so I really do advise people to, I mean, don't be scared. Like, open your third eye. And then you will know it's real. It won't just be having faith or thinking that it's possible or sounds good. You'll know. The knowing is really where we all should be at. Because when you know this is real, too, that makes it more concrete for you, more solid, more empowering for you. And the message that's in here has an even deeper meaning. All right. And remember that the higher self is everlasting. It's, you know, that's Allah in you. Okay. And anything that's emanating from your higher self in the things that you do, actions that we take, if they're coming from our higher self, they will be long lasting as well. But if they're coming from our lower self, they're going to pass away. They're not going to last long, because the lower self is finite. It's not going to last long. So if we're getting into a relationship from your higher self, it's not going to just be a little relationship. It's going to be a marriage, and it's going to lead to families and all of these things that are going to last, that are even going to last longer than your physical life, right? Businesses, anything that we're going to from the higher self, right? If you're really doing a business, you're bringing a service to people. You're actually going to help people, and your business will be long lasting, may even last longer than your physical life. But if you're just trying to go in and make money, you're trying to get over on people real quick before they figure out your scheme, right? That's not going to last. Might lead to jail or prison or something like that. Might lead to somebody getting revenge on you, right? Right? It's not going to last. So we need to do things from the higher self. You know, it's just the reflection, Islam, of that spiritual Islam, brother.
Peace. I just wanted to say something off of that, like just following your higher self is it's similar to like what Jackson Bay was doing, you know, as far as guided meditation. You know what I mean? You can guide yourself in a higher realm of thinking, rather than lower self thinking, just trying to survive or just keeping my head above water. That's the lower self. But the higher self would be like, well, I'm in the struggle, but I can still prosper because I got people, I got connections, I got, a hustle, you got work ethic or whatever. And it's all about direction. You direct your train of thought through once again through the holy breath, which is a valid point, because if we don't breathe while we're thinking, we don't really have no clear, concise direction. You'll just be, losing breath. You're like a fish out of water, trying to struggle and fend for yourself. Islam.
Islam, brother, and gratitude, brother Jackson Bay. You should share your YouTube channel in the chat. He has the guided meditations on there. Islam. All right. And question 72, right? One was, can the higher self pass away? Answers no. 72, why? Because it is Allah in man. Right? It's Allah in man. So the higher self, that's Allah's seed in you. And that's Allah individualized and personalized within man. Right? So when you're looking at the tree of life, you have the spirit realm, and then you have the soul plane, and then you have the physical world. So as the spirit takes on the clothes or the cloth of soul, you develop this individual personality, this individual soul. That's the soul plane is not as dense as the physical world, so we can't perceive it with our eyes. But this is where you get these individual souls, but they're each actually a spirit that's clothed in soul, and they take on an individual personality and soul. And then we took on these physical bodies as well. So the soul took on an even denser form. All right. And it's still ultimately Allah experiencing life as you, an individual person. Each and every one of us has this in us, right? And then that even goes across, all different ethnicities and all that, everyone. And then ultimately everything, the animals, everything is Allah experiencing this existence, is that thing, right? And as humans, as man, we are able to connect to the higher realms, even in the physical body, where truth and falsehood strangely mixed. So you still have that higher aspect of yourself. Just like when the brother Jackson Bay was doing the meditations, if you go on the YouTube channel for this temple and you look at the prophet's birthday celebration, the brother actually did that on there at the end of that. He did the guided meditation. So when we're able to we're able to access this higher form of ourselves when you're going in and you're balancing your chakras, right? And you're going all the way up through each level. You have this higher aspect of you that you can consciously access. All right. And that's one of the things that separates us from all the other creatures or beings on earth. Not that we're higher or lower than anything. It's just that that's our purpose. That's why it's saying that man's birthright is to rule over all of this. That's our purpose in this, as far as this reality is concerned. So to know that the higher self is Allah in you, that's extremely empowering, because we know that no matter what you're going through, no matter what's happening in your life, you're not alone, and that you are destined to succeed. Because without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength. So no matter what we're going through it because Allah can overcome it. And Allah is in you. Spirit man. All right. Then as a collective, the oppression and stuff we're going through, it's like we can overcome it. Right? Nothing can hold us back. Right? If we're Allah and man, if that's what you are. And so that's also why the spiritual portion is in here, and it's huge. We can't overlook it, right? We have everything that we need to succeed, to shake off the shackles of oppression and all of that. All right, so 73, what does the lower self breed? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murders, theft, and everything that harms. Okay, so this is letting us know that all the stuff we see going on out there in our lives that we don't like is coming from within. That's something that's an externalization of the lower self. Okay? So we don't need to be deceived. Like, we don't really have to fight anyone. Everyone has an internal battle going on, and it's with our lower self. So if we're able to subdue the lower self, then all of the things that are holding us back, you know, whether it's laziness, it could be, you know, fear, it could be any of these things. It could even be more serious things like drug addiction, self-hatred, all of these things, it's all internal. All right. And even when we see things happening outside of us, or it seems like somebody's working against you, it's all emanating from within. All right. And it's, you know, that ultimately that's why also when the prophet talked of his travels through the South, he put it back on us. He's like, okay, I see what they're going through. And it's because they're slaves to sin. It's because they're following after the European. How can they rule over the Moors, the creators of civilization? It's because they don't know who they are. They don't even realize that God is in them. And that they can access that. You can rule from your higher self. You don't have to be a slave to sin. All right. And so anything that's preventing us from that, from becoming the strength of Allah made manifest, is the devil. It's Satan. Okay, like the lower self is not really the devil, it's not really Satan. It's just like that because things are out of balance. We fell so much that we didn't even know it existed anymore. We didn't even know God was in us. We didn't even know that the thoughts and things that are in our head, this from the body's consciousness, that's from the animal self. We didn't even know. We didn't differentiate it. We thought that was who we were, but it's not. And so, yes, anything that's preventing us from being the strength of Allah made manifest is the devil. So from that aspect, it is. But once you're back on the throne in alignment with your higher self, it's no longer the devil. It's not even an adversary. It's a servant. Then the lower self is working for you. It's just doing its job, which is really to keep the body alive, to help you survive in the physical world. It's like if you were an astronaut and you're in a spacesuit, or if you're underwater, you got on scuba gear. It's like if you had a suit that had like smart intelligence. It's able to look out like, okay, here comes a shark. We need to swim faster. And it's moving and doing this stuff for you. That's what the body's like. It's got that type of technology in it. It's conscious. And we got to the point where we became one with the suit and thought that's who we were. And so that's why we have to get back out of this. All right. And we have the tools to do it. So with the questions, you know, these are bringing these things up so that we can understand how we got here and how to get out of it. So what did the higher self say to the lower self at one time when he met him? And the answer is, where are you going, Satan? All right. And so there's several ways you can look at this. You know, we could look at this from, you know, a physical perspective, because the answer is, what was the answer that the lower self gave to the higher self? I'm going to and fro the earth, seeking whom I may devour. You know, from a spiritual perspective, if we're looking at this, like, this is just reiterating what happens when we're not able to subdue the lower self, when we really buy in to thinking that that's all that we are. It's just everywhere that we go, everywhere that we are slaves or underneath our lower self, it's just causing destruction. That's it. If we look at our community as things that's being promoted just in rap music, you know, they got Future to start promoting popping pills, something that our people weren't even really doing. Like, it wasn't really a problem. It wasn't something that we like to do. People weren't just taking any pill they could find, Xanax bars and all that stuff. But, you know, they used the music and we were stuck in our lower selves, so we went along with it. The lower self's not looking out for you, right? It's seeking pleasure, just physical pleasures. It doesn't matter what, it could be food, just seeking food because it tastes good and putting it in your body, and it's killing you because we're overdoing it, right? And the, you know, with the whole popping pills thing, we started getting into it. I remember seeing some interview with the rapper again, Future. He said that he expressed regret because there was a guy, I think last year, that died. Like, they say he overdosed, this dude named Juice World. And in an interview, he actually said that he was listening to Future's music, and Future talked about drinking cough syrup, and that made him start doing it. And the guy, like, I haven't even heard Future put anything out in a while. He might want to quit because of that, because he felt guilty, right? And then our people actually doing it now in real life, and a bunch of Europeans, they're doing it even more hardcore than they were, because they've been popping pills, but now they're doing it big time, and it's spreading all over the world, right? Like a disease. And anyone that gets into that lower self activity, it's going to take them down, right? It's not for the greater good. Just like the other thing with the music, like the song WAP and all that stuff, promoting, you know, sexual promiscuity, right? That's gonna make everybody's life miserable. It's just gonna take anybody down who goes along with it. And then even people who have a culture, people who come here from other countries, like from India, Hindus and Pakistan, and you know, they're Muslims or Hindus, they have a culture that should be against that stuff. But if they're here and maybe their children grow up here and rebel against their own culture and they're getting into that stuff, guess what? It's going to devour them too. All right. So looking at it from a spiritual perspective, that's one way of looking at it. Also, like physically, we're saying, has he finished this task of devouring? If you're looking at history, looking at the Roman Empire, right? You had the Roman Empire had reached its territorial limits in the 3rd century, and they were starting to fall back, right? And for the most part, they were falling from within, right? They had all these hedonistic practices. They had these practices where they would, you know, feast, and some people were like literally having food poisoning, right? Killing themselves. And this was around the end, I guess, around the same time that Jesus was nailed to the cross. All of these things were occurring. So if we look at question 77, when was his time declared out? When he nailed Jesus on the cross, right? And so this is basically letting us know that the lower self and Satan that we're talking about in question 74, this is basically referring to Rome, right? Because it was the Romans who had nailed Jesus on the cross, right? So from a physical perspective, you could look at it like that. And then in chapters 19 in our Quran, chapter 19, verse 12, Jesus is saying of the crucifixion, the Roman soldiers pierced my hands and feet with nails, and then one pierced my heart. And then it's also in the Quran in chapter 46, verse 1, Prophet Noble Drew Ali was saying the Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law. Right? And then at that time, the teachings that would have been spread by Jesus would have been seen as revolutionary. Because at that time, the people in Palestine would have been like a Roman colony. And then he's bringing thought-provoking teachings, teaching people about the power in themselves, their connection to divinity. Same message ultimately that all prophets brought to mankind. All right, and that would have been seen as a threat. Okay, so with this, with this line of questioning, it's basically letting us know that it's referring to Rome, and then it's also letting us know that we're in the same situation right now with the modern day Rome, modern day colonization of Rome, being up under this power and trying to suppress the teachings because they're revolutionary, returning a God consciousness to the people, knowledge of self. This is seen as a threat. The government here, I think this is like during the creation of the CIA, J. Edgar Hoover had the whole wording of one of the things that they were going about doing was preventing the rise of a Black Messiah, right? They had this thing, COINTELPRO, and that was one of their mission statements, to prevent the rise of a Black Messiah. And that's on the record. Like that's not a conspiracy or anything, right? So these are things that they're actively looking for, right? And it's not even so much like fear of the people rising up and overtaking us. It's about changing their consciousness. Why? Because if they realize how powerful they are, won't be able to rule over them anymore. All right. And then 78, what are the last words Jesus uttered? It is finished. All right. And so just that easily, that simply, he foretold the end of Roman world domination, just with those 3 words. Right. And let's see, what did he have reference to? He had reference to the end of Satan. All right. So with them crucifying, him, with killing him and thinking that, okay, it's okay now, we took care of him. All right. Same thing even too with the prophet, with him making the transition. You could literally look at that like this happened in 1929. It's over. Some have said that the movement got infiltrated. And that's why you had the splits where so many different things came out of it. Like the Nation of Islam came out of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Actually have an old newspaper. I think they were called the La Temple at first, but the leader, Fard Muhammad, used to call himself Prophet Fard. And they were still at that time using the literature from the Moorish Science Temple of America. There's a roll paper, like a roll sheet from attendance from a meeting that has Elijah Poole Bay, I think Elijah Poole Bay and his wife Clara, and then it's got somebody named David Fordell, I think. So, could have been Fard Muhammad. But the reason I say that is because you had all these different groups that came out of that. Okay, all of these different groups that came out of that movement, and you could then look at the confusion and things that came along and how the movement dwindled down to the point where it was pretty much gone. And you could say, well, it's over. The prophet's gone. It's over with. It's done. We don't have to worry about those Moors anymore. This is an old paper from the Final Call. This was the early Moorish Science Temple of America. Everybody in this photo has fezzes on. Right, you can't really see this real good. It's not a good picture, but basically they all have fezzes on. But if you can see here, it says Prophet W.D. Fard, Prophet Fard. It's all throughout here. He used to call himself Prophet. Prophecies of Fard Muhammad. So I'm just letting y'all know that it came from the the Moorish Science Temple of America. But all of these different groups came out of it. And for the most part, it almost disappeared. But out of the blue, there's a resurgence. People all over the place are waking up and coming back to it. And this is a parallel to what we're reading about right now, just with the Koran questionnaire with Jesus. So even even though they may have thought it was over with, right? What are the last words Jesus uttered? It is finished. They thought it was over with. What did he have reference to? The end of Satan. Okay, so just the fact that the prophet came and established this for us means that it's over with. Then 80, did Jesus say that he will return to conquer him? Yes. All right, so it's over with. The fact that we're here, we know that we're Moors and we're moving together and we're actually interested in coming in, learning the ways of our ancestors, returning to our divine creed. That means that this is over. Okay, there's a statement, an oral statement where allegedly the prophet had told the Moors at that time, he said that regardless of how things look, everything's gonna wind up back in the hands of the Asiatics. Okay, and so it doesn't matter how bad things look, how crazy things look, it doesn't matter. Just the fact that we're here and doing this when this movement should have been dead. You know how many movements came and went, especially back in that time when the prophet was here. You had whole entire cities or villages that were popping up where it was mostly people of European descent, and they were calling them like, they were like euphoria villages, where utopias, where they were trying to make these little perfect societies. So you had all types of movements. You had the New Thought movements. You had all types of movements that were popping up, and then they died down and they went into obscurity. And we wouldn't even know about it if somebody didn't maybe dig and write a history book about it. Okay, so this could have been just like that, but it wasn't, because it's destined to be. All right, and so when the prophet came and laid this down, he set the framework. And when he was done, he departed from the earth plane. He made the transition. But it's already over with. Okay? Satan is done. The lower self, Rome ruling over us, all of these things, it's over with. All we have to do is follow our simple instructions, our divine instructions. Just return to our ways. Okay, we don't have to go out there fighting and all that. All we have to do is come into our own, and it's over with. It's done. All right, and it's really just waiting on more of us to get it together and move. Okay, and that's real. All right, that's all I had to say about that. But I would go ahead and open up the floor to questions, or any questions or statements anyone has. Feel free to share. I yield the floor.
Islam. I rise and give praise and honors to Allah, honors to all you Moors in attendance, honors to the Prophet. I was talking in the chat about the word "it," as you referred to in the questionnaire, Sheikh, and sometimes a lot of characters that are being referred to, like a evil character or whatever, like the character "it," on the movies. I only put that in that perspective because that's what it kind of ties back to. A lot of things are so-called satanic, or people are into all that that type of so-called religion, and I just wanted to get an idea, a ball rolling on that one.
Islam, and two, for question 88, we're saying, what are the last words Jesus uttered? It is finished. If you just going back from, guess you could say 74 on down to that one, he's speaking about the lower selves, and has he finished his task of devouring? Yes. When was his time declared out? When he nailed Jesus on the cross. So he's speaking specifically about the lower self, and the lower self is ruling. It's running rampant. Okay, so from a spiritual perspective, obviously this is the battle internally within us, but on the physical realm, we're looking at Western civilization and seeing what it's doing to the world, poisoning the world. Even some could say using us to help spread destruction. With our music was hijacked a long time ago. It's just like what some people say, oh, the temple's been infiltrated. Dude, you listen to rap? because I don't know what rap you've been listening to, but the rap that I listened to got infiltrated a long time ago. I was still a child when it had already been infiltrated, and it was used as a weapon of destruction. Right? Like when I was growing up, rap was not cool and all positive. It was selling drugs and being negative, and it's even worse now. It's a tool of destruction. So they use us, and we go along as willing participants to help spread destruction. And so all over the world now, you have Crips and Bloods in South Africa. Why? Why do they have Crips and Bloods? That makes no sense. So it's spreading, okay? And its time was declared up when the prophet came, because he returned the tools to us to fix this. And that's why we cannot skip over the work on ourselves. We have to subdue the lower self. Everyone is looking to us, even if they don't think they are, right? And that's why they have to use us to spread this stuff, because people, if they do it, nobody's going to trust it. People all over the world have ran out of patience for, yeah, I don't want to make it seem like just aiming at some people, but it's the truth. People all over the world have ran out of patience for Europeans, see them as causing destruction and destroying society, spreading, just doing all types of things. People don't want it. And so they use us. And we get people's guards down. And for some reason, they want to emulate us. They have their own music, but they like ours. And so we are spreading the destruction because we're stuck in our lower selves. We're not even thinking about it. And so the time's declared up because the secret is out now, right? As long as people aren't trying to say I'm a Moor, but I don't worry about all this stuff though, right? But as long as we are not acting like that, and we're really going to be Moors, for real, being a Moor means you're subduing your lower self. Why? The Moors are the priesthood class of ancient Egypt, the priesthood of Anu. All right? These are the ones who were running things. We have to be about subduing our lower self. And now that we know, it's up, it's over with, it's done. None of these schemes that are put out there to destroy us will work anymore, right? We're supposed to be following these divine instructions. If we're following our divine instructions, like just in the Quran, and I mean in the Constitution, fathers, men, you must be fathers. You must protect and provide for your family. So if you're there and you're doing this and you're being a Moor and your wife is being a Moor, right? Our children aren't going to fall for these traps. They're not going to think it's cool to put anything in their mouth that can get them high, because that's what music's telling you now. It's cool to be a crackhead, right? So we won't fall for these tricks. It couldn't even work. It can't work. We want to subdue our lower self. So anything that's saying that looks stupid. And the more of us that get in alignment with this, the more that stuff looks corny, looks dumb. Nobody wants to do it anymore. People start to wake up. And so that's why it's finished, because we know this now. And we can't go backwards. Once you know this, you can't go back. Islam? So not even just back then, right now, in the present day, it is finished. It's done. We know better, right? Islam. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? Okay. All right. Well, if there's no questions, I want to announce without further ado, we are going to go into the closing of the meeting. I'm going to read the additional laws. Act 1, grant sheiks and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Before acting upon by any members, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the members to sacrifice finances, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the prophet or the Grand Sheik. Act 2, all members are to attend their 8-up meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3, it is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4, all members while up making a public speech must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must conform himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who's able to do so, because out from your Sunday school come the guiders of the nation. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is why the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of the Father God Allah. Brother Seymour Bey, would you please read the divine warning?
Islam, Sheikh. First I rise and give praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and to the forerunner to the prophet, our brother Marcus, Messiah Garvey. Honors to our forefathers and foremothers, and peace and blessings to all you faithful Muslims on the call. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to the national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law-abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government, and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they're glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is the free national standards and power that make a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I'm hereby calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government in the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all the support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I'm depending on your support to get them back into the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they placed their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and the South in unit, placing the Southerners who were at that time without power with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. And then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. And so I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they have fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and I have examined the conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
All right, Islamism and gratitude, brother, gratitude. Okay, all meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Please rise and face the east for the closing prayer.
Islam, rise and face the east, be at a 45-degree angle. Arms stretched out into a cactus pose facing the east. 2 fingers up on the right, 5 fingers up on the left. You do not have to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to the ways of our ancient forefathers, divine creeds and principles. We ask this in thy holy name and 7 Elohim. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. This meeting is now adjourned. Peace and love, Morris.
Islamism, peace and love, family.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and
Islam.
love.
Peace and love.
Islam.